Hey guys, welcome back to the Second Time Lucky Mining channel. In today's quick video, we are going to continue with part 2 of understanding or learning about the Ergo ecosystem, and we are going to have a look at one of their decentralized exchanges. If you like the Ergo content, please like the video and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. That will help me out a great deal. But enough of sharing my channel, let's jump into the content. Now, in today's video, I'm going to continue on where I left off of my previous video, and if you haven't watched that, I'll leave a link in the video description and tag it at the top, but it would be one of the prerequisites for this video because I would need a wallet to interact with the decentralized exchange. Now, the decentralized exchange that we're going to have a look at today is SpectrumFi. Now, on SpectrumFi, at least to my understanding, you can do two specific things today. As I'm looking at it today, you can either swap one of or Ergo or some of your Ergo tokens between each other, so one Ergo token into something else or Ergo into another token, or you can actually provide liquidity to one of these pools. So those are the two things that, at least from my understanding, what you can do on SpectrumFi today. There might be more stuff in the future, potentially making use of the Rosen bridge to swap onto the Cardano network, but specifically in this video, I'll show you guys how I'm going to use some of my 50 Ergo that I've mined and swap it into one of the Ergo tokens. Now, in full transparency, I've used SpectrumFi once before, and that was, I think it was last year or potentially the beginning of this year, but it was when the Flux Ergo parallel asset was released, and I wanted to have a look and see, what can I do specifically with that parallel asset. So in that case, what I've done is I've swapped to test the Flux Ergo parallel asset into Flux. So I've used SpectrumFi a little bit before, but I am not a super proficient user. So if I'm doing something wrong and what I'm going to show you guys on the computer, please specify in the comments and educate me. And as I mentioned in the first video, I'm just an uninformed miner trying to understand the Ergo ecosystem a little bit more. Now, what is a decentralized exchange? And the easiest way or that I can explain it, or the way that I like to understand it, at least in my simple mind, is a centralized exchange. That is something like Binance, Crypto.com, Coinbase, an entity like that. It's a massive company and they are basically the market maker. So, they provide the trading pairs, they list coins on there, and then you potentially can swap from one coin into something else, or you can cash out into fiat. And that's really what a centralized exchange is. Now, the big drawback of a centralized exchange and why I don't particularly like to use it, it's a necessary evil, at least in my opinion, to get my fiat off and on. Crypto, at least, is, you don't own the crypto that you put on the centralized exchange. And that's slightly different with a decentralized exchange. In a decentralized exchange, it's not really a company, it's potentially a bunch of people, or it could even be a company, but created a application, and they are not necessarily the market maker. It's decentralized, meaning people like you and me around the world, we can provide liquidity, allowing people to swap from one coin into the other. Now, that has some drawbacks and obviously some risks associated to it. At least in my opinion, the drawbacks and the risks associated with a decentralized exchange is there might be codes or bugs within the code, and you might lose your funds. So that is the big drawback around using decentralized exchanges. Yes, that same bugs and exploits can happen on a centralized exchange, and we've seen centralized exchanges going under. So it's not necessarily, centralized exchanges is so much better than decentralized exchanges. It's just something that you would need to know and plan accordingly. And again, that's why I exercise, when I use decentralized exchanges, proper risk management. Now, the other thing we also saw it this week, or it's actually last week, when somebody tried to swap USDC into USDT, the slippage, or I don't know what the guy did, but he lost a lot of money in that process. So it's just those type of things that you would need to look out for. Now, the other big bonus about a decentralized exchange, besides you actually can get rewards and you can participate, is it is your keys, your crypto that you own. So that is the big positive thing that I see in decentralized exchanges. In terms of risk management and what I like to do when I use decentralized exchanges is only make use of a small bucket of my crypto that I am potentially prepared to lose in case there's something that goes wrong. So, it's not a big portion of the crypto that I use. And the other thing is, I will always first do a test something. So if I'm doing a swap, I will just take a small amount and swap it and see that it's working the way that I want it to work. And if it does, then I'll do what I wanted to do in a bigger scale. Again, still a small portion of my overall crypto portfolio. Now, the last thing in terms of risk management that I really like is I like to use decentralized exchanges that is not a big black box. And what I mean by that is it is open source. So they are publishing to the world, potentially in GitHub, the source code of their application. That means there's a lot of people that can have a look. They feel comfortable for people to have a look at the code and potentially either contribute or point out if there are bugs. So I really like if a project is open like that and allowing anybody and the world to mark their homework and potentially help them. So I really like that. Now that you know what a decentralized exchange is and potentially the risks associated to using a decentralized exchange, let's have a look at the prerequisites. Now, in order to use SpectrumFi, you would need to use a wallet or make use of a wallet that can connect with it either with the D-app connector or with Ergopad. And in my case, again, if you haven't watched the video, I've set up the Nautilus wallet, so I'm going to make use of the Nautilus wallet to connect to SpectrumFi. Now, enough talking about it. Let's jump on the computer and I'll show you guys how I'm going to make use of SpectrumFi.
Okay, so here we are on the computer. Now, I've got the SpectrumFi website open here, and it stands for Spectrum Finance. And as you can see here, Spectrum Finance is an open source cross-chain DEX. Now, built for the Ergo and Cardano community. Now, I'm excited for the Cardano community to actually be part of it, and that's where the Rose and Breach comes in. But specifically what we are going to have a look at is launching the app. You can have a look at the website and scroll through some of the other stuff, but I'm more interested in the app, so I'm just going to launch it. You would see it would open up a new tab launching the SpectrumFi app. Now, you just need to be a little bit patient here. Now, after being patient, it's now loaded in, and just having a look at the options that you have on the app, you can see here, there's the two things that you can do. You can either swap or provide liquidity. Just next to it, it shows you the total value locked. So that's what TVL stands for. That's the total money that has been locked up in the liquidity pools for you to be able to swap. Next up here is the volume. So as you can see, it's about $16,000. Now, what's important though, if you are a liquidity provider, you want this value to be super high. And the reason being is you will be paid, or the rewards that you will get is based on transaction volume. So generally it's a percentage of the volume that went through. Now, if I go to the right here, as you can see, the default option so far is on Ergo, but hopefully in the future you can play with Cardano here as well. And best be, I will be here making a video on that. And then if I go to the far right hand side, the three dots, that's generally probably settings. And as you can see here, you can toggle between light and dark mode. And you can have a look at the GitHub and potentially some documentation associated to some of the functionality that they have on the actual app. Now, specifically in this video, what I wanted to show you guys is swapping. So what I'll do is I'll swap some of my Ergo into something else. Hopefully that would lead into the next video. Potentially in a future video, I'll go and provide liquidity. But at the moment, I can't really provide liquidity because I only really have Ergo within my Nautilus wallet. So that's potentially why I need to go ahead and swap. Now, to swap here, you can see I'm going to swap Ergo into something else. And if I drop down, you would see the different options that's available in the list here. Now, I'm specifically going to do Ergopad. Again, the reason for that is I just wanted to, in the next video, show you guys what Ergopad looks like. So in my case, I'm going to swap Ergopad here. Now, as soon as you select that, what you would see is it will show you the liquidity pool and the fees associated to that. So as you can see, it's 0.4 and the total value locked here. Now, at least in my case, I don't have a wallet connected just yet. So I'm just going to click on this button that says connect wallet. And then it's going to ask me, which wallet do I want to connect, a browser-based wallet or a wallet that's got Ergopad. Again, as I mentioned earlier in the video, if you have a wallet that's got Ergopad, you can potentially use that. But in part one, I created a Nautilus wallet here. So now once you select connect wallet, you can see here, it opens up my Nautilus here and it's asked me which wallet do I want to connect. And potentially you could have more than one. In my case, I only have the Ergo education fund. So I'm just going to select that. say connect. And what will happen is you will see it will start syncing. Now, what that will do is it will have a look and see how much assets do you have. And in my case, you can see it's pulled through my balance of 50 Ergo. And in my case, what I'm going to do is I want to swap 10 Ergo into Ergopad. And as you can see, the current rate here, I would get about 2,169. Now, something that is cool here, if you just scroll a little bit down and then click on more here, you can see there is a slippage tolerance of 3%. So that means that, I potentially would get 3% either less or more, depending on everybody that's provided liquidity. And you will see there is fees associated to it. And you would see the total about fees here as well. So that's all of the nice information that's easily available. Now, in case you want to do the swap, and that's what I want to do here, I'm just going to click swap, and then it's going to pop up again. I'm going to say yes, confirm swap. It will ask me, or Nautilus will ask me, are you sure you want to do this? You want to swap 10 ERG, which is the network fee and a little bit more. I'll have to go and specify my password and sign. And again, be a little bit patient. And then what you would see is it would open up with a transaction has been submitted. And you can see it's saying here at the top right, one pending. So again, I can go and click on open in browser. And then it will try and show me the transaction again. The Ergo blockchain is about, I think it's every 2 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, blocks will get confirmed. So technically speaking, you should just have to wait a little bit, and then your swap would go through. So again, I'm just going to be a little bit patient. Now, after being a little bit patient, the pending went successfully, and here you can now see my balance is 39.99918. And then if I just open up my Nautilus wallet again, so let me just click on that, you can see I now have the 2,169 Ergopad within my wallet. Now, something else that I do know works here as well, it's synchronizing my history, and that might take a little bit of time here, but this is now where you can see all the historical swaps potentially that you have done. So it's a nice feature. Again, I've looked at it before. It might take a little bit of time to sync, but at least in my case here, that's really how easy it is to swap, either in my case, Ergo into Ergopad, or potentially tokens between each other. Now, the other thing just to have a look at here before I end the video is just the liquidity pools. And if I just select liquidity here, you can see what is the most popular pools, or at least the pools that either has got the most volume, potentially the highest fees here, and the total value lock. So in case you wanted to provide liquidity, and again, we will come back and provide some liquidity in a future video, but this is just where you will be able to see the liquidity and potentially which pair would make the most sense specifically for you.
That's it for this one, guys. If you've liked the video, please like the video and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. If you didn't like the video, please specify in the comments what you would like me to change. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.